The Zephyrian cubs huddled together in the corner of the detention bay, their crystalline fur dulled with fear and exhaustion. Anna watched them through the reinforced viewport, her jaw clenched as she observed the latest batch of captives the Korthak raiders had brought aboard their flagship. The alien children, for that's what they were, despite their leonine appearance and ethereal beauty, couldn't have been more than equivalent to human 10-year-olds. Another hunting party returned. Helan reported grimly from the communications. Console. His weathered face bore the scars of countless battles, but Anna had never seen him look so disgusted. 17 more cubs from the outer settlements of Zephys Prime. Anna's fists tightened. For 3 months she and Helen had been undercover aboard the Bloodmaw, posing as freelance mercenaries. Their mission from the Terran Defense Coalition was simple: gather intelligence on Korthak raiding patterns. What they'd discovered was far worse than anyone had anticipated. The Korthak weren't just raiding for resources or territory. They were systematically harvesting Zephyrian cubs for an underground gladiatorial network that spanned 12 star systems. The cubs' natural telepathic abilities made them prized fighters when properly conditioned, a euphemism that made Anna's stomach turn. "The conditioning starts tomorrow," Anna said quietly, reading the duty roster on her datapad. "Combat training for the new arrivals." Helen spat on the deck. "You mean torture? Breaking their spirits until they're nothing but weapons?" Anna had seen the older Zephyrian fighters, hollow-eyed creatures who'd forgotten their own names, responding only to combat commands. The Korthak had perfected their methods over centuries, turning naturally peaceful, empathic beings into killing machines through systematic brutalization. But the Korthak had made one crucial miscalculation. They assumed all species would break the same way. They'd never broken humans. That night, Anna made her way to the detention bay during the shift change. The security systems had convenient blind spots, ones she'd carefully mapped over weeks of observation. The cubs looked up as she approached their cell, their large, opalescent eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and terror. "I'm here to help," Anna whispered in their native tongue, grateful for the Coalition's linguistic implants. "But I need you to listen very carefully." The eldest cub, a female with silver-tipped fur, stepped forward. You speak our words. Are you here to take us home?" Anna's heart clenched. "Not yet. But I'm going to teach you something that will help you survive what's coming." Over the following weeks, Anna and Helen began their real mission. During their assigned guard duties, they taught the cubs lessons the Korthak never expected them to learn. Not how to give up, how to endure, not how to break, how to bend without snapping, not how to surrender, how to resist. "Pain is temporary," Anna whispered to a young cub who'd been selected for his first conditioning session. "But what you are, who you are, that's permanent. They can hurt your body, but your mind, your heart, your soul, that belongs to you alone." The cubs learned human concepts that had no equivalent in their peaceful culture: defiance, stubborn persistence, the refusal to yield even when yielding seemed logical. But most importantly, they learned something that humans had perfected over millennia of warfare and oppression: how to hide their strength until the moment was right to use it. The Korthak trainers were initially pleased. The new cubs seemed to be adapting to conditioning faster than usual. They followed commands, participated in combat exercises, even showed aggression toward training dummies. What the Korthak didn't realize was that the cubs were learning to compartmentalize, to perform obedience while maintaining their core selves intact, a psychological technique Anna had learned during her own captivity years ago on Vega Station. The breakthrough came during a routine training session. Commander Thrak, the Korthak's chief trainer, had selected 3 cubs for a demonstration fight meant to intimidate the others. Instead of the usual terrified compliance, something different happened. The cubs moved with purpose. Coordinated purpose. Their telepathic abilities, rather than being suppressed by the conditioning, had been secretly strengthened by Anna's teachings about human concepts of brotherhood and unity. The cubs had learned to share not just thoughts but resolve, determination, rage. The first cub fainted left while the second struck right, their movements perfectly synchronized. The third used his smaller size to slip beneath Thrax's guard, striking nerve clusters Anna had taught them to target. But the real shock came when the eldest cub, the silver-tipped female, looked directly into Thrax's eyes and spoke in perfectly clear Korthak. "We are not your weapons. We are not your slaves. We remember who we are." The uprising began that moment and spread throughout the ship in minutes. Cubs who had been scattered across different detention bays moved as one organism, their telepathic network carrying Anna's lessons like wildfire. They struck at precisely the right moments, targeting ship systems Anna had identified as vulnerable, using techniques Helen had taught them about disabling larger opponents. The Korthak crew, expecting broken, compliant victims, found themselves facing something they'd never encountered: Zephyrian cubs with human hearts. Anna and Helen revealed themselves during the chaos, their true identities no longer secret. Working alongside the cubs they'd trained, they systematically took control of the Blood Maw. The Korthak, specialists in breaking spirits rather than fighting guerrilla warfare, were utterly unprepared for an enemy that refused to be broken. As the ship's distress beacon brought Terran coalition vessels to investigate, Anna watched the cubs, no longer cubs really, but young warriors tempered by adversity, help their fellow prisoners and tend to the wounded with compassion intact despite everything they'd endured. "You taught them well," Helen observed, watching the silver-tipped female coordinate rescue operations with the efficiency of a seasoned commander. Anna smiled grimly. "I taught them to be human. They taught themselves how to stay Zephyrian." The female approached them as coalition ships began docking procedures. Her opalescent eyes held depths that hadn't been there months ago, not the hollow emptiness of broken conditioning, but the earned wisdom of someone who'd faced darkness and chosen light. "Anna, teacher," she said formally, "we will return to our world now, but we will not forget the gift you gave us." What gift was that? The cub's telepathic voice touched Anna's mind, carrying with it the gratitude of dozens of freed prisoners. "You taught us that the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire, and that sometimes the fiercest bite comes from those who've learned to bare their teeth." As the Blood Maw became a coalition evidence ship and the rescued Zephyrians prepared for their journey home, Anna reflected on the mission's unexpected outcome. They'd set out to gather intelligence on raiders. Instead, they'd proven something far more valuable: that the human spirit, the refusal to surrender, the determination to protect the innocent, the stubborn insistence that freedom was worth any price wasn't limited to humans alone. It could be taught, it could be shared, it could spread. And once it took root, it was impossible to kill.